On October 4th, 1952, a group of white gangsters dragged Harlem's most feared man to the edge of a four-story building and threw him off. They stood over the rooftop, watched his body hit concrete, and drove away, thinking the problem was solved. But 2 hours later, Hell's Kitchen was on fire. 5 locations, dozens shot, one organization erased, and the man they thought was dead was the one who ordered it. This is the night Bumpy Johnson survived assassination and allegedly wiped out an entire gang in return. Welcome back to Bumpy Johnson Decoding Dark History. By 1952, Harlem wasn't just a neighborhood, it was an empire. And at the center of that empire stood Ellsworth Bumpy Johnson, feared by rivals, respected by locals, and known for something rare in the underworld: discipline. Bumpy didn't move loud, didn't brag, didn't waste violence. But when violence came to him, he answered in ways that changed entire maps. Every bookmaker, every runner, every hustler in Harlem understood one rule: if Bumpy controlled it, you didn't touch it. Not unless you wanted war. South of Harlem sat Hell's Kitchen, a rough stretch of Manhattan run by Irish and Italian gangs, where territory was everything and respect was currency. One of those crews, according to Underworld accounts, was called the West Side Boys, led by a volatile figure named Patrick "Red" Malone. Malone didn't believe Harlem belonged to anyone, especially not a black numbers boss, and when Bumpy's operation began expanding near Midtown borders, Malone saw it not as business, but as insult, and in the underworld, insult is blood, waiting to happen. The conflict started small, like most wars do. A numbers runner working near West 57th Street was pressured to stop collecting for Harlem and switch allegiance. He refused. Days later, he was found beaten badly, arms broken, face barely recognizable. That was Malone's message. Bumpy responded the old way: measured, proportional, controlled. 2 of Malone's men were hospitalized days later with similar injuries. Message returned. In another era, that would have ended it. But Malone didn't want balance. He wanted dominance, and dominance meant removing Bumpy Johnson entirely. So Malone proposed a sit-down, neutral territory, no weapons, just talk. It sounded professional, reasonable, exactly how these things were usually settled. But according to later street accounts, the building chosen wasn't neutral at all. It was controlled. 4 stories high, rooftop access, isolated, perfect for something that wasn't negotiation. Bumpy agreed to attend, alone, not because he trusted Malone, but because refusing would look weak. And weakness in that world could be fatal. Saturday night, October 4th, 1952. The city moved like any other weekend. Couples walked sidewalks, bars filled, jazz floated out of Harlem windows. No one knew a war was about to start. Bumpy arrived at the building shortly before 9, climbed the fire escape, and stepped onto the rooftop. And that's when he saw them. 13 men, all white, all armed, forming a half circle around him. No exits, no negotiation, no misunderstanding. This wasn't a meeting. This was an execution. Malone allegedly didn't rush it. He talked, explained, enjoyed the moment, told Bumpy they were going to break his bones, humiliate him, make an example out of him, and then throw him off the roof. Not shoot him, not stab him, throw him, slow death, public disgrace, a message to Harlem. And in that moment, Bumpy understood something clearly. Fighting meant pain before death. Not fighting meant pain before death. The outcome was the same, unless he changed the timeline. So instead of begging, instead of swinging, instead of panicking, he walked toward the edge, calm, controlled, defiant. According to accounts, he told them to stop talking and do it. That wasn't bravery. That was control. That was refusing to give them the performance they wanted. And it shocked them. For a moment, the script flipped, but then 4 men grabbed him, dragged him forward, lifted him, and hurled Harlem's most feared man off a 4-story building, 48 feet. Concrete below. Physics says most people don't survive that. But according to the story, Bumpy didn't scream, didn't flail, didn't freeze. He tucked his body, angled his fall, tried to protect his head and spine, and somehow, impossibly, he lived. His leg shattered, hip dislocated, shoulder separated, but his skull didn't crack, and his spine didn't break. Pain hit instantly, blinding, overwhelming. But he was conscious, breathing, alive. Something Malone never expected. Pedestrians screamed, froze, ran. Someone went for police, but Bumpy understood something worse than dying that night, surviving and being found. Hospital meant police. Police meant reports. Reports meant enemies would know where he was, and enemies meant finishing what the fall didn't. So instead of waiting, instead of collapsing, he dragged himself inch by inch, blood on concrete, breath heavy, body broken, into a nearby alley, hidden, dark, out of sight. Survival wasn't enough. He needed control. A woman from the neighborhood recognized him. Everyone in Harlem knew Bumpy Johnson. She tried to call an ambulance. He stopped her, told her no hospital, no police, just one phone call. He gave her a number, Marcus Webb, one of his top lieutenants. And the message she delivered was short, urgent, and final. Red Malone did this. Bring everyone. Bring everything. 2 hours. Then the line went dead. Marcus didn't hesitate. He didn't verify. He didn't question. Because if Bumpy Johnson said bring everyone, it meant something catastrophic had already happened. Within minutes, calls went out across Harlem. Men were pulled off corners, out of clubs, out of apartments, out of back rooms. Weapons came out of walls, trunks, floorboards, basements, pistols, shotguns, Thompsons. This wasn't retaliation. This was mobilization. This was war. And the man who had been thrown off a building allegedly coordinated it all from a car. Targets weren't random, they were strategic. Every known West Side Boys operation in Hell's Kitchen, bars, gyms, gambling dens, garages, 5 locations, 5 teams, one time, 10:45 p.m., no warnings, no negotiations, no second chances. According to Underworld accounts, this wasn't about sending a message. This was about erasing one, removing a name from the city entirely, making sure what happened to Bumpy Johnson never happened again, to anyone. At exactly 10:45 p.m., Hell's Kitchen exploded. Gunfire shattered taverns, flames tore through buildings, basements turned into kill zones. People ran, screamed, hid. Witnesses later said it felt like war, not crime, not street violence, but something organized, precise, coordinated. Within minutes, 5 locations went silent, no shooters caught, no weapons recovered, no witnesses talking, and one name surfaced at every scene: Patrick "Red" Malone. By midnight, police were overwhelmed. Multiple mass casualty scenes, dozens of bodies, 0 suspects, 0 leads. One of the most violent coordinated attacks in New York history. And no one officially connected it to anything. No motive, no arrests, no answers. But in Harlem, one man lay recovering in a safe house. Broken bones, but breathing, thinking, calculating, still alive, still in control. Officially, the cases went cold, unsolved, forgotten, filed away. But unofficially, the streets remembered everything. Every crew in New York learned the same lesson. You can shoot Bumpy Johnson, stab him, poison him, throw him off a building, but if he survives, he doesn't retaliate. He erases. After that night, no gang ever attempted a direct hit on him again. Not once, because legends aren't built on victories, they're built on survival. Was this story exaggerated? Almost certainly. Was it dramatized by the streets? Without question. But did someone try to kill Bumpy Johnson that night? Yes. And did a Hell's Kitchen gang vanish immediately afterward? Also yes. And in the Underworld, timing is truth. Whether this happened exactly this way or not, the message remains the same. Some men survive bullets, some survive knives. Very few survive being thrown off buildings and come back with an army. This wasn't revenge. This was warning. This was territory law, written in blood. And this is why Bumpy Johnson's name still echoes through Harlem's darkest history. Not because he was the most violent, but because when violence came for him, he survived it, controlled it, and turned it into something permanent. This is Bumpy Johnson Decoding Dark History. By 1952, Harlem belonged to Ellsworth Bumpy Johnson. Not officially, not legally, but everyone in the streets knew it. Numbers gambling, protection rackets, dispute resolutions. If something moved in Harlem, Bumpy knew about it. South of Harlem, though, was Hell's Kitchen, controlled by Irish and Italian gangs. One of those crews was known as the West Side Boys, allegedly led by a violent operator named Patrick "Red" Malone. The trouble started small. A numbers runner operating in the border zone between Harlem and Midtown got pressured to stop working for Bumpy and switch allegiance. He refused. Days later, he was found beaten nearly to death. That crossed a line. Bumpy retaliated. Proportional. Controlled. 2 men hospitalized. Message delivered. Normally, that's where these things end. But this time, it didn't. Because to Red Malone, this wasn't just business. It was humiliation. And in 1952, New York, a white gang leader getting hit by black enforcers in his own territory wasn't something he planned to let go. So instead of negotiating, he decided to eliminate the problem. According to Underworld accounts, Malone proposed a sit-down, neutral territory, no weapons, just business. The location, a 4-story building on West 134th Street in Harlem. The time, Saturday night, October 4th, 1952. Bumpy agreed, not because he trusted Malone, but because refusing would look weak. And in that world, weakness was worse than death. So he came alone. No bodyguards, no weapons, no backup. He climbed the fire escape to the rooftop, and when he stepped onto that roof, he didn't see a meeting. He saw 13 men, all armed, all blocking the exits, all waiting. It was an execution. According to multiple street sources, Malone didn't rush it. He explained, he talked, he enjoyed the moment. He told Bumpy they were going to beat him first, break bones, make an example, then throw him off the building, not shoot him, not stab him. Throw him. Slow death, public humiliation, and Bumpy understood immediately. There was no negotiating this. 13 men, no escape routes, no backup. He was dead either way. So instead of begging, instead of fighting, he walked toward the edge. Witnesses later claimed he said something like, "If you're gonna do it, do it. Stop talking." That shocked them. That wasn't fear. That was control. And moments later, they grabbed him, dragged him, lifted him, and threw Harlem's most feared man off a 4-story building. 4 stories, 48 feet, concrete below. Physics says most people don't survive that. But according to accounts, Bumpy didn't scream. He didn't flail. He tucked his body, tried to roll, tried to protect his head and spine, and somehow, against every probability, he lived. Broken leg, dislocated hip, destroyed shoulder, but alive and conscious. Pedestrians screamed. Someone ran for police, but Bumpy knew something worse than dying that night was surviving and getting found, because hospital meant police. Police meant vulnerability, and vulnerability meant they'd finish what the fall didn't. So instead of waiting, he dragged himself, bleeding, broken, into an alley, and asked the first person who recognized him to make one call. That call went to Marcus Webb, one of Bumpy's top lieutenants. And the message wasn't long. It was simple. Red Malone did this. Bring everyone. Bring everything. 2 hours. Then the line went dead. Marcus didn't ask questions. He didn't verify. He didn't hesitate. Because if Bumpy Johnson said bring everyone, that meant war. Over the next 90 minutes, Harlem mobilized. Men were pulled off corners, out of clubs, out of homes. Weapons came out of walls, out of trunks, out of basements, handguns, shotguns, submachine guns. This wasn't retaliation. This was eradication. And Bumpy, broken, splintered, bleeding, allegedly coordinated everything from a car. Targets were selected, not random, not emotional, strategic. Every known West Side Boys location, bars, gyms, gambling dens, garages. 5 locations, 5 teams, 1 time, 10:45 p.m. At exactly 10:45 p.m., Hell's Kitchen exploded. Gunfire ripped through bars. Basements turned into kill zones. A garage burned. Witnesses said it felt like war, not street violence. Warfare. Within minutes, every location was silent. No shooters caught. No witnesses talking. No organization left standing. And one name came up at every crime scene. Patrick "Red" Malone. Dead by midnight. Police were dealing with multiple mass casualty scenes. Dozens of bodies. No suspects, no weapons, no leads. One of the largest unsolved crime sprees in New York history. And in Harlem, one man lay recovering in a safe house, still alive, Still breathing, still in control. Officially, the cases went cold. No arrests, no convictions, no closure, but unofficially, every crew in New York learned the same lesson. You can shoot Bumpy, you can stab Bumpy, you can throw Bumpy off a building, but if he survives, he doesn't retaliate. He erases. After that night, no gang ever attempted a direct hit on Bumpy Johnson again. Not once. Because legends don't come from victories. They come from survival. So here's the real question. Was this story exaggerated? Possibly. Was it dramatized by the streets? Almost certainly. But did someone try to kill Bumpy Johnson that night? Yes. And did a major Hell's Kitchen gang vanish immediately afterward? Also yes. And in the Underworld, timing is truth. Whether this happened exactly this way or not, the message remains the same. Some men survive bullets. Some survive stabbings. Very few survive being thrown off buildings and come back with an army. This wasn't revenge. This was a warning. And this is why Bumpy Johnson's name still echoes through Harlem's darkest history.